We praise these two young survivors, so very brave to stand up for themselves in a court of law. We praise their families for supporting their children through this. This is a case of two children being used in child pornography. In other words, victims of child sexual abuse. What I read is that his advocate is negotiating the consequences of a man who sexually abused two children by sexually exploiting them and distributing naked photos of them. Precedents for longer experiences are what we need. We must send a clear message that there are severe consequences for exploiting and bribing young girls to do things that could affect them for the rest of their young, beautiful lives. The internet is not going away, and neither is evil in my personal view. Let's not forget he was 24 and they were 15. He was old enough to know what he was doing was wrong and damaging. That is a big enough gap to know between right and wrong. Let's see, a consequence of 12 years for committing a sexual crime against children versus a lifetime of emotional and psychological lasting effects for victims. Let's not forget he had multiple victims. What measurement is Miss Christopher using to determine low risk? Is she a forensic psychologist who understands the minds of those who suffer with a sexual addiction? What does she, as a legal advocate for offenders, know about risk reduction? She is an expert in the law, not in the mind. He not only seems to suffer with a pornographic mind, but is also a blackmailer who deceived, bribed, and exploited and used his career powers to sexually harm two young girls with the hopes to destroy their reputations and future endeavors. We just hope and pray that Mr. Smith didn't have the power to destroy these young girls' gift and love for music. Also, he may have displayed sorrow and shame for what he did. But let's not forget that shame and sorrow alone for being caught does not remove the deviant sexual desires. He may have been laboring under imminent proceedings for quite a long time, but I can tell you that these precious young girls will be laboring pain and scars from his actions much longer than he's endured. Shame from perpetrators doesn't remove the deep wounds inflicted on their victims throughout their life. His actions changed two lives forever. I pray that these two young, beautiful girls receive the healing and the support that they deserve. I pray they can trust men again, men who will sincerely want the best for them. I pray that their hopes and dreams are not shattered as a result of Mr. Smith's unlawful actions. What does Mr. Smith need? In my view, he needs unconditional love and support from his family. He needs the most effective treatment program for his deviant sexual urges and thoughts of sexual entitlement. He needs a sex offender treatment program that can measure change and reduce the risk of this ever happening again. In other words, the most effective there is to offer with the most effective measuring tool to show change. He'll also need license conditions attached upon his release to reduce the risk of this ever happening again. Saying sorry and having regrets for whatever reason isn't enough. It's about an honest acknowledgement of the damage caused and the deepest desire to change his sexual thoughts. He and his family should be begging for the most effective treatment. There is hope for Mr. Smith because he's in his 30s, but he has work to do.